Speaking of bangers, this is a good set. I need to listen to that one some more later. That's the set, just in case you're wondering what it was. So, yeah, let me give you a like, because I am not an asshole. And yeah. Hello, friends. Happy Friday. It's Fuck It Friday. It's Fuck It Friday. Congrats. We have survived one of the wildest weeks I hope we've survived. Not all plays worked out this week. It's not mine. When I run for office, what is my walk up music? Probably like 9 Inch Nails. You guys gotta understand, like I'm a rock fan. I just can't put on a lot of that music because it's definitely copyright protected. So that's why I tend to pick a lot of a lot of electronica. Because yeah, generally speaking, it's not exactly copyright protected. Plus, it's mixes, so it's oftentimes it's multiple tracks. So yeah, Trent Reznor is amazing. Absolutely. There's actually a live DVD. I would highly recommend if you guys get a chance, find it. Beside You in Time. It's one of the tours they did, and it is fucking stunning. And never forget, 9 Inch Nails is one man. It's Trent Reznor. In the studio, he does, generally speaking, all the parts. When he goes live, he actually gets like a band with him. But generally speaking, 9 Inch Nails is one dude. So yeah. Yeah, he is. He moved into being a composer, doing a lot of scores for basically soundtracks for movies. Yeah, incredible. Practice more. You came to the stream long ago to escape the apes, only for Jay to talk you back into GME. Yeah. How about that? There's actually a really interesting story right now. Let's see how GME's doing. I assume they're doing well. Yeah, they're fucking. Apparently, Ortex, just keep in mind, is a private company that basically, like, I guess, sends out, like, daily requests for information from, like, big institutional players, from market makers, etc. And I guess they respond. So I assume they're getting paid for it. But to give them information so they can, like, do some calculations on things like short sell, volume of shorts, shares borrowed, etc. A lot of people who play in the meme stock space follows them very carefully, but it's all like self-reported data. My understanding is it's actually a highly manual process. They basically put out, like their system showed last night massive borrowing of GME. So all the apes are going nuts. Apparently it's not real. Yesterday, from a volume standpoint, GME had what? 2.4 million shares traded. So the idea that there was like 65 or 70 million shares borrowed, which could indicate this massive short squeeze. The problem is no one's borrowing shares without basically selling them. So there's no matching transaction. So in all likelihood, it's Ortex fucked up or one of their clients fucked up in terms of transmitting the data. It's not fucking real. Not shorting, borrowing. That was needed to cover delivery. Okay, so the argument now is that instead of like a legit just fuck up happening, that they legitimately borrowed that many shares, but there was no transactions for them. Got it. All right. It's an interesting one. Yeah, if you had a chance, watch the Defiant Ones. It is an incredible documentary. Yep. And your friend walks his greyhounds. That's nice. Bob Vester, thank you for the sub. Greatly appreciated. 1 year. Yep. Yeah, someone here has pointed out very correctly. GME, it's $25. Apparently, you buy. Red swap. It happens every 70 days or so. Came a bit late this time. Okay, interesting. Either way, I know there's like a lot of interesting conspiracy theories. I don't believe those. Wendy, am I telling you the apes are creating synthetic shares or are the actual shares? You fucking dick. Yes, I am. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So keep in mind if you're an ape thinking I'm shitting on you, I'm really not. I'm cheering for you guys. I hope you do well. Yeah. Good luck. God, what a week. I want to keep my eye on Snowflake because I have intraday calls on them, and I'll tell you right now, it's not been working out well for me. I was kind of hoping they'd go up. Snowflake, you'd almost think they reported earnings, but they didn't. This week has been very bad, very, very bad for Snowflake. Very, very bad. So I'm playing an intraday. Looking at this chart, I'm tempted to go even a little bit longer. The concern on Snowflake is they have a lot of exposure to cloud. However, they probably play a lot more on bigger enterprise. So I'm tempted. I may just buy some shares, but it's a heavy, high beta tech name. However, it's not a semiconductor name, so it can play in a separate category to them. Obviously, semiconductors are fucking. We will talk all about that, but essentially, it's the Intel show. Yeah. And Pitoska, I'm in intradays on Snow, so I want to keep an eye on it. I will probably take a loss in about an hour or so if they don't fucking do some shit. But yeah, Snowflake, I just want to keep an eye on. They're probably, I think, one of the higher quality cloud names that's not a mega cap. And they play in a really interesting spot. Someone say money. You are desperate to know why the fuck Intel is rallying 10%. I'll tell you right now. We'll talk about Intel a lot more. I promise you. We will shit on them. Intel is up because semis bottom on bad news. And they gave a lot of bad news last night. And people are like, oh, okay. That's it. Now people feel like they understand why the stock has dropped so much. Now people think it's closer to a bottom. And this is what happens to semiconductors. Semiconductors give bad news, and they stop at a certain point, they stop going down. Yeah. Sagano says, imagine making money on the data center segment. We'll talk about that. Intel saved your one Soxel call. Yeah, I mean, semiconductors as a segment, doing quite impressive. Own semi starting to run up. We will absolutely talk about that one later as well. I don't know what to think for next week. Own semi reports Monday morning. So you have to decide if you're playing them today. And we'll talk all about that later when there's more people. I hate to say it, AMD, there's some logic as to why it's going up and logic as to why it goes down. It's just shitty logic. People are interpreting the wrong thing about it. I'm glad to see AMD's going up right now. Put it this way. Whatever Intel's doing right now, AMD should be doing more of it in terms of stock price. So Intel being up to, 9.5%. All right, cool. After what I saw last night, AMD should be up a lot more. AMD is up next week. I actually like AMD going into earnings. Wendy says, you think that's a market-wide principle? Stocks bottom on bad news. That's true. Semiconductors as a sector, at least according to like Stacy Raskin and the other analysts who follow the sector for years, have always said the semiconductor cycle, you start seeing the cuts, you start seeing the EPS cuts, you start seeing analyst cuts, and then that's what the bottoming process looks like. And by the way, I'm not saying that they have absolutely hit rock bottom. I just don't think for quite a few of these stocks, specifically now Intel, AMD, Nvidia's getting close. I don't think there's significant downside. Like if AMD hits 50, I'll be fucking stunned. Twitch streams, you sold your 0 DTEs on Apple way too early. Don't worry. I think a lot of people probably sold out of Apple too early. Shit, I didn't absolutely tick the top here. I've sold out of Apple 70+%. I feel good. I feel very good about it. Yeah, AMD next week when they report, it's going to be all about their guidance. They've already pre-released their earnings. We already know what's going to be the case, that's why it's kind of shocking to me. Intel basically reported what they did. Again, we'll talk about it. And then AMD basically reports has already reported, oh yeah, and in data center, here's how we did. People should be really appreciating AMD a little more. Wall Street bets getting squeezed like pimples. Yeah, I hate to see it. Again, I don't want people losing money. Did I sell my Apple? Yes, I did. You sold puts instead of buying calls? Jordy, don't worry. I think you played it well. Lil H, thank you for the sub. Thank Mr. Arlington. Apple, I felt good about going into earnings. I really did. And we're going to cover Apple's earnings when some more people arrive. I was impressed. Apple had a good quarter, and I think a lot of people are misunderstanding it. Ambrose, this is a good question. Which semi-stock do you think has the best future for the data center? Oh, God. I mean, long-term, the answer is NVIDIA. NVIDIA, basically, it's the story of, I would say, interconnects, which NVIDIA is playing heavily in there. Interconnects is basically the space between chips, so to speak. Routing data from chip to chip. Specifically, though, it's the software side. It's CUDA. It's the programming language for GPUs for AI. That's an NVIDIA product. So NVIDIA has a lot of strength there. Rad, what do I think it will take for semis to be revalued? Time. It's just a matter of time now. Findivi, do I remember what you said about Intel? No, what'd you say exactly? What'd you say about Intel? In practice more, I'll answer your question in a second. Amazon's red as a tomato. They're coming back. Intel is love. Listen. The better play, like the best guidance or best play that I mentioned this week was not playing Apple. It was avoiding playing Intel. That was the exact fear. Prometheum, we will talk about Apple. I liked their report. I liked their report. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding it, and that's fine. I liked what Apple reported. There's a lot of context that I think you have to read between the lines on that actually makes you sit there and go, oh, okay. Like, and I'm sitting there going like, all right, they're good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Prometheum, hold off. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. We'll talk about it. Twitch streams picks up on the weird part. Fucking MacBooks carried them. MacBooks. Huh. How about that? You guys understand, like, no one's doing well in PCs. Fuck it, we'll talk about Apple now. Here's the post. This is what you need to really understand about Apple that can be expressed. There's two numbers that will help. First of all, 1.8. The average number of devices, Apple devices, owned by an Apple user. It's 1.8. Back in 2019, that number was 1.55. That's a big deal. There was a specific comment made on the earnings call last night that was really impressive to hear. Apple, for me, as a semiconductor nerd, installed base. Installed base. Like, when they view their consumers as an installed base, the semiconductor companies use, because they talk about the services revenue. They talk about additional pull-through revenue they can get, which I just find really impressive. Now, to keep Apple's results, first of all, I remember a lot of people inside VTards talking about how Apple was X growth. They delivered 8% year-over-year growth. All right? 8% year-over-year growth, so they're not X growth. And they had probably the biggest FX impact of any of the companies that's reported so far. FX hammered them, and they still beat. Not only that, but guys, do you remember when the new iPhone came out? September 22nd. They only had 8 days of the new iPhone in this quarter. So when anyone says, oh my God, but they're guiding down. No, they fucking aren't. No, they aren't. Not a single analyst had them down, accelerating their growth year over year for next quarter, and here's why. It's the first quarter, because they just finished up Q4 in their fiscal calendar. First quarters always incorporate essentially the holiday season. Their comparable situation is 123 billion. All right, and for credit, 90 billion is what they just delivered. This is why, by the way, going quarter over quarter with Apple doesn't really work out very well, because it produces some weirdness. In fact, you'll see it next quarter come through. They're projecting, like the sell side basically says Apple's going to be producing, what, 4% year over year next quarter? Like, that's the guide, which, by the way, is less than the 8% they delivered year over year with this quarter. But that's on a base of $123 billion in revenue. That is very impressive, just the fact they'll be able to beat it. So already, what Apple is essentially softly guided to is a record quarter next quarter, just in terms of revenue. All right, you look at their segments, only a 5% growth on services. Wearables, 10%. What's most impressive about that is they admitted they are supply constrained on the premium watch. Yeah. They feel like they can sell more of them if they can just fucking get it. The big shock is the iMac, honestly. 25% up. No one selling PCs was doing that. No one. Yeah, terrible Terry Tate. Just a soft $130 billion quarter. Yeah. With excellent margins. And the more shocking thing is if the dollar weakens up, like Microsoft and Apple in particular are gonna crush. You'll almost wish Apple did true guidance. If that dollar just weakens up, because that 8% gain they had year over year in revenue with this quarter would have been 14%. And a mega cap buying back that much of their stock, basically a 14% year over year. Notice something. The financials, which are all getting rewarded, they shrunk like 30%. Okay, there's not a lot of companies that's actually growing revenue, right? We're coming off of this big pandemic pull forward, yeah. Windmaster, you knew enterprise computers being sourced as a MacBook? Oh, nice. So yeah. Apple is a real interesting company. By the way, I've already sold out of Apple. Long term, I'm not going to hold on to Apple. Is not a growth stock. Apple is Procter & Gamble now. Okay, Apple is Walmart. Apple is Hershey's. Apple is Coca-Cola. Okay, it's a fucking boomer. By the way, all the companies I mentioned have a higher forward PE than Apple. Yeah. Amazon's already back to 101. Shaking off those earnings. I don't like Amazon. I think they did better than, put it this way, they never deserved to be down 20%. And there's a little bit of my Microsoft argument where it's like, hey, in the cloud in particular, I like the idea that they're basically almost serving as a utility, working with customers to help kind of reduce costs, to maintain kind of consumer relationships. I fucking love that. I can't get over, what is it, 17 billion or 19 billion in stock compensation this quarter. This is my challenge to companies. If you're going to do stock compensation, you need to be buying back those shares at the least. Yeah, Prometheum. Also, seasonality is a big thing for Apple. So next quarter, here's where I like Apple. Next quarter, you're going to have a full quarter of the new iPhone. You also have an iPad refresh right around Christmas time. Apple has already said there's no fucking way they're replicating their success in the Mac sales. We know that much. If FX chills out, Apple's going to beat next quarter as well. It's really easy. It's really easy. Apple has kind of set themselves up well. And I thought they executed very, very well. By the way, let's chat for a second. Going into this, Apple beating should have been really apparent. All right. If people had read through specifically Broadcom was the giveaway. Broadcom has one consumer-facing segment. They supply the Wi-Fi chips to Apple, just to the iPhones. And basically, the deliveries that Broadcom would have made that quarter would have been for the new iPhone. You knew that not only were they strong this quarter, they're probably going to be strong next quarter too. Hold that thought, Windmaster, because I love it. Hold that thought. So I think Apple, there was enough information like for people that were actively looking. Plus, everyone talks about the Samsung earnings. Samsung called out continued strength in their premium phones. They didn't see reductions in them. And Samsung talked a lot of shit about cell phones as a whole, but they specifically called out premium phones, which is where, of course, Apple only plays. So that's why, by the way, I think next week Qualcomm's up. I feel pretty good about Qualcomm going into next quarter. Yeah, Qualcomm's gonna be fucking Apple over, by the way, and the modems too. MP Tosca, tech companies exist for the employees, not shareholders. Lots of companies guilty of that, enriching themselves based on investors. I think they call this the principal agent problem in business class, correct? Yep, I had to learn about negotiation, like with specifically realtors, and that's the exact thing you're talking about. Yes, and there are examples of companies who don't do that. Put it this way, okay? Like Qualcomm does stock-based compensation. They at least buy back shares to make up for it. Yeah, Qualcomm's next week. Qualcomm and AMD are both next week. AMD, I'm going to be very curious. In fact, next week's actually a big week for semiconductors. On Semi in the morning, Monday morning. After Monday, you've got NXP. And NXP is not a company I like. I'm not going to play against them, though. NXP, it's going to be really interesting. Am I bullish on Qualcomm earnings? Yes. The problem is I don't know how the market's going to react. All right. So if you look at, for example, Intel cut guide, they go up. Micron, same thing. Anyone paying attention to Texas Instruments? Texas Instruments, this is a classic semiconductor move. They're about to be completely made up for their earnings, where they beat on earnings but cut. NXP reacted actually relatively calmly to earnings. I think it actually took them like an extra day. We'll talk about Wolf, absolutely. So next week, when you look at the semiconductor stocks, it's interesting. On Semi, God, y'all know I love this company. And really, let me start off by talking about two companies. FinDivvy, have I understood this right? That Apple only shows end products when they are finished? I think that's generally speaking the truth, yeah. All right, so Wolfspeed. There's two companies we have to talk about in relation to onsemi. And honestly, guys, I don't know how to play going into earnings. All right, I'm literally conflicted. So Wolfspeed took a complete and total shit. Now, keep in mind, Wolfspeed was the most egregiously overvalued semiconductor company, okay? If you were buying Wolfspeed, you're buying them because they're a pure play in silicon carbide. All right? And the sexy part of onsemi is silicon carbide. The difference is Wolfspeed's still setting up to be able to scale up to do the manufacturing. onsemi's already there, so to speak. All right? You can also look at ST Micro. Okay? This is, by the way, the problem with NXP as well. European. They tend to not move a lot. FinDivvy, onsemi's it's off for you. No dividends. Yeah, it's a growth stock. It's a growth stock. onsemi's not returning money to shareholders for quite a bit. They're investing. They are growth. Oh, they make cash. Don't get me wrong. onsemi makes cash. Put it this way, if onsemi was starting to give out dividends now, no one would invest in them. It's the old argument that people use, by the way, with like NVIDIA. NVIDIA's had the cash as your dividends for a while. People are like, no, we're not going to. That's almost like an acknowledgement that you've peaked. Yeah, growth is what you want, but also, particularly in semiconductors, you should have a growth story and you should still have a decent valuation story. All right? And I know it's kind of crazy. Like, listen, if I wanted companies to just give cash back, all right, cool. Apple, by the way, gave you back $29 billion. Apple made $28 billion in free cash and gave back $29 billion. All right, excellent capital return. ExxonMobil gave back like $8.2 billion, which is also really impressive. Really impressive. Like, onsemi makes money right now, but yeah. Ooh, Jerry Lewis died? Interesting. So ST Micro reported, by the way, had excellent earnings, executed well, talked about strength in, and I looked through the comments and it was really interesting. They specifically called out what they referred to as like business to business industrial. I guess there's like a consumer facing industrial as well. I mean, fuck if I know what, like doorbells and shit. All right. Apparently, anything facing the consumer is not particularly doing well in semiconductors. Anything that's not, and they still called out like the business to business industrials, particularly industrial power systems, was doing very well. Industrial automation systems. This leaves me bullish towards onsemi. Remember, onsemi is basically power and sensing. Okay? So a lot of sensors, specifically again for automotive industry and for industrial applications, usually those facing the business. They do have some consumer exposure though. Not much, but some. So the ST Micro makes me feel a little bit bullish on onsemi. At the same time, Texas Instruments guiding down, a little bit bearish. Texas Instruments is one of the bigger players in power. They don't have any silicon carbide. They tend to also play in a little bit of the cheaper spaces. They just make up for it by the fact that they do their own manufacturing. They're an integrated device manufacturer. And then MP Tosca is pointing out the other company I wanted to talk about. Well, the two companies that I really wanted to talk about in relation to onsemi, it was Wolfspeed, and then it was Monolithic Power. So Wolfspeed. The reason they dropped, and we covered this 2 days ago, it was because they've had problems executing. All right? It's one of the toughest things to fucking do is manufacture silicon carbide like wafers. Their problem had nothing to do with demand. In fact, their back order grew. They gained an extra like $5 billion in future silicon carbide orders, which I think is really impressive. So Wolfspeed being down this much doesn't worry me for onsemi. onsemi has a very attractive valuation, has growth at the same time, and knowing that Wolfspeed saw no problems in demand makes me think, at least from the silicon carbide side, there's no demand problems. The hurdle is Monolithic Power Systems. Holy shit, they're up. I thought they were down earlier. They reported last night and guided down. They pulled an intel. They beat on this quarter, guided down. They were taking a big dick. I didn't realize they went green. I didn't realize they went brutally green. Wow. Goes to show what I know. So yeah, then if this is the case, then maybe this is good for onsemi. You almost want them to guide down. My concern for onsemi, automotive, they should be fine. They play in the good area of automotive. Industrial should be decent. They don't have a lot of consumer exposure, but I expect it to all go to shit. They're going to show a gross margin decrease no matter what. And that's because they're doing a lot more ramping up on the ability to produce silicon carbide. So if anyone's just looking at onsemi from like a headline standpoint, they're going to find reasons to not like them, no matter what they do. However, the story of last earnings is important. We go to on. I believe this was last earnings, or this was last earnings. But basically, after earnings, they immediately dropped. I thought their earnings were fantastic. But people read about free cash flow issues, about gross margin compressing. Remember, this is a company gross margin 47%. A bit over a year ago, it was like 32%. FinDivvy, what the fuck? You don't know why people hate Intel. Their processors have warmed many houses during winter times. Asshole. That's funny, though. So onsemi dropped last time after earnings. Their earnings were fantastic. People looked at some headline pieces and said, oh my God, free cash flow was down. Gross margins were down. They had said that was going to happen. And they're still so far up on gross margins for where they were recently. It's okay. This is their growth aspect. They could pull the same shit. I still like them. Everyone's been talking about automotive. It's been strong. This is the company that can deliver silicon carbide right now. I trust management. I still don't know if I'm going to hold them through earnings. Put it this way, if they drop on earnings, I'm probably a buyer. So I don't know if you hold through because earnings are Monday pre-market, but if they drop, that may be the sign to jump in because that was actually a very profitable play last time. Yep, Prometheum. Yeah, I saw that. Let's talk ExxonMobil, guys. Let's talk some oil. Is this? Yeah, this is oil. First of all, fair disclosure. I will always have a soft spot in my heart specifically for ExxonMobil. I was an intern with ExxonMobil back in grad school. I'll never work in the energy industry, but I have a tremendous amount of respect. I think a lot of people paint ExxonMobil unfairly. If there is any company, any group of professionals I would want to pull oil out of the ground because it's a dangerous and dirty job in the first place, I would have more trust from a team led by ExxonMobil than a team led by fucking Pemex, Saudi Aramco, or BP. Alex Hyde, give me a few minutes. Let me finish talking about it, and I'll be happy to go back and talk about that because it's really cool and I like the topic a lot. So, ExxonMobil had a fantastic quarter. They already pre-released, so it's not a shock. Here's a slide that kind of concerns me from an investment standpoint because it shows you how fucking crazy their margins are. And by the way, this is a terrible chart. This is an absolute terrible chart because it's not giving you, it just shows you the context relation to each other. What this chart is basically showing is that from a crude prices standpoint, nat gas prices, refining margins, and chemical margins, this shows you where they are in their kind of 10-year range. And refining margins in particular, which is ExxonMobil's really good at, they are way the fuck up here. Okay? Way the fuck up here. They are well beyond their 10-year average. So my concern is in the future, these margins compress, and that may kind of hold them back, specifically on the refining. Now, that being said, here's the thing you got to understand about ExxonMobil, about an integrated, big energy company. Whatever they lose on refining, they'll make up more than that on what's called the oil, the exploration and production. Okay, exploration production, also known as upstreams, pulling oil out of the ground. Refining is downstream. It's taking that oil, converting it to refined products. Basically, the refining operations, the refining business, the chemical plant business, buys oil. So the higher the price of crude oil is, the higher the price they pay. Then they sell refined products. That's what makes up the margins. And Pitoska, what do you know? ExxonMobil and Chevron have higher market cap than Meta again. Real companies rule the metaverse too. To be fair, I would still consider Facebook a real company. I mean, remember, for all we can joke about them shitting away real money, Facebook's profitable. Their free cash turned to shit because they're investing all that fucking money. But yeah, mark my words, within the next few years, you will see higher free cash flow from like some of these like, tech companies than an oil company during a downturn. It's the rule. It's how commodities work. Yeah, Facebook's a real company doing stupid things. I like that quote. Yeah. So, I mean, I liked ExxonMobil's performance. I still don't know if I'm ready to jump into specifically oil yet. All right, this looks good. This all looks good. The problem with commodity is they have to generate a lot of money right now on the upcycle to pay for all their R&D, to pay for all their capex, and to basically handle the next downturn. And there's always a downturn. There's always a downturn. Now, something that Prometheum pointed out, which is absolutely amazing, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is a really bad thing. I think they shouldn't have said this. Where is it? Where's that quote? Yeah. There has been discussion in the U.S. about our industry returning some of our profits directly to the American people. That's exactly what we are doing in the form of our quarterly dividend, Exxon CEO said. That is a fucking stupid comment. Rex Tillerson would have had that man's balls in his office by the end of the day if he'd said that. I can't believe, like, Exxon would say that. You guys understand Exxon has a habit of being very conservative. When I worked for Exxon, even when we fired people, like, you could show up drunk on the plant and we would absolutely fire you. They would absolutely fire you. They would still pay you a severance. Do they need to? No, but you are signing away your ability to A, ever work for them, or B, ever sue them. They would sleep better knowing that. Exxon is a company, at least back when I interned with them, like, that was their policy and that was their strategy. I had it explained to me by their head of benefits. All right? Their whole idea. It's why, at the time, they did both a pension and a 401k. Okay? Exxon is overly conservative. They want to keep their names out of your fucking mouth. All right? So the idea that someone, that they're, that their CEO would basically be so ballsy as to say such a stupid statement, returning some of our profits directly to the American people, that's what we're doing in the form of our quarterly dividend, I would have instead said, we are investing more to help improve carbon capture, which is a true statement, by the way, and to improve the efficiency to help make, supply energy to the American people, but also, like, make the world better. Like, I think there's so many ways they could have said that instead of trying to basically, like, feed into the narrative that everyone behind ExxonMobil is some rich person that's basically collecting money off, like, polluting the world. It's a tone-deaf statement. Rex Tillerson would have never said that. Wasn't Rex Tillerson that Rammstein singer? No. He was the former CEO. He's a good guy. You don't have to agree with him. But yeah. Yeah, meanwhile, Chevron CEO kind of going off on them, yeah. That's an important thing. Like, ExxonMobil has, like, and this is the difference. I've seen a lot of people pointing out ExxonMobil had more profits, or roughly near just as much operating income as Apple. It's like, yes, upcycle for a commodity, and then theoretically a kind of staple or a tech stock like Apple. That's the case. Find them in their down cycles, and they will look very different. That's why Apple gets a higher PE. That's why a staple, by the way, gets a higher PE. But yeah, this is the issue about commodity investing. When you catch the upcycle, oh, it's brilliant. And they give you money back. That's good. So yeah, they did very impressive. They had a good quarter. It should be a surprise to absolutely no one. And I think the oil industry in the U.S. gets absolutely a wrong map. It's not cool. It's ludicrous. You'll appreciate this. Someone meeting with Qualcomm's founder's son at his hotel, and all the Chevron team is staying at the hotel. I have a funny story. Let's chat. When I was at Exxon, keep in mind I was at the Beaumont refinery for my internship. So I was at a chemical plant located right next to a refinery. It's a really it's a cool environment, I'll say. And again, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people who work there. We had to go, like, the entire, like, intern class from, like, the entire, like, North America. So there was, like, I think, like, 20 of us, something like that. We all had to, actually, no, there's a lot more, but so HR function, HR and finance were together. When we went there, we had to go to Houston twice. And so I'm staying at a hotel, and, like, we had like our own stuff to wear. So, like, I had, like, a polo shirt with an ExxonMobil logo. And I was staying at the hotel. It was a Sofitel hotel. I forget the name of I think it was Sofitel. I don't know. Staying at one of the hotels in Houston. It was very nice hotel. And, you know, basically checking out in the morning to head to like the headquarters where we're getting tours and giving presentations and stuff like that. And I'm wearing my ExxonMobil like polo shirt. And there's a whole group of Air France stewardesses right behind me checking out. And this is like either the morning of or the day after ExxonMobil gave earnings. This is back when Exxon had like record profits, by the way. I was the intern back then. So this was back in what, 2008 or 2009? It was 2008. Yeah, I think it was 2008. This is back when they had like record profits back then anyway. And the looks I was fucking getting, like, oh, it was the Air France people. They were disgusted. And it's like, bitch, you're in fucking Houston. What do you expect? I thought it was funny. Any parallels with CPG's earnings in the big oil? I assume CPG, or you mean CPG the sector or CPG the company? Because I know there's like an energy company named CPG. I don't know shit about them. Big oil's different because they tend to have both upstream and downstream. The company, okay, I don't know shit about them. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's kind of a fun little story. But yeah. Did I get my Twitter share? Bought it for, it still shows up in my account right now. I don't know if that's a TD Ameritrade thing, but it still says I have 1 share. But yeah. Well played to everyone who held through. It was difficult. I will not give you anybody shit for selling out of Twitter Play early or for not believing in it, because it was a fucking nightmare to go through. We dealt with a lot of shit. I'm not giving anyone shit for not playing it. I'm not giving anyone shit for not holding on. Don't worry, y'all did fine. Wall Street Bets trying to figure out what happens to their Twitter 54. You mean $55 calls? Yeah. Pelosi's husband has a brain injury. Is getting like, what the fuck's going on? Like, ugh. Cheech Ellie, I assume that they basically cashed out. That's what I assume. You were in and out like 10 times on Twitter. Well played. Twitter was a fun play. I don't ever want to do that shit again. Glup, yeah, I feel the same way. I did the same thing, by the way. You made like 5K overall. I think I made close to 20,000. Should have gone in more. Sorry, Kiwi. Thank you so much for following that as close as you did. My pleasure, my friend. Honestly, like, Twitter showed the positive, the whole Twitter case showed the positive of Twitter as a platform. Because I was able to get information from like, was it Mike Levine? Is that his name? Chancery Daily. I think there was another woman. I think it was Liz Upton. I forget her name. But there were a few people that if you followed were dead right the entire time. Actual lawyers and law enthusiasts who follow this shit for fun, who put out their shit for free, who called every fucking moment of it. And if you ignored all the people who were giving wrong information, who didn't know shit, who were very loud about not knowing shit, and actually followed the people who knew their stuff, like, it really showed you the power of Twitter as a platform. BoardXTX, I assume I got it. I have 1 exact share. It's not showing, like, I assume, though, by this weekend, the share will disappear, and then at some point in the next 2 days or so, I'll get the amount. That's what I assume is going to happen. Yep, Jordy, you remember the 150 tweets long chain? Yeah. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. Like, what an opportunity. I know someone's saying, what about Activision Blizzard? No fucking clue. That one's a tough one. All right. Really, Twitter and Elon Musk should have been a slam dunk. In fact, I did make a post on Twitter itself. Go figure. Someone's pointing this out. I know you're not necessarily a big Musk fan or a big fan of Musk's Twitter approaches. Actually, I love it. Here's some more evidence the EU fucking... In Europe, the bird will have to fly. Yeah. Person's exactly right. I posted something, though, last night. And this is what I'll maintain. Now that Twitter belongs to Elon Musk, I can't help but wonder how that Bloomberg story about a national security review got through. I maintain that author, I'm going to take some positive intentions here. I think she got conned. I think she got played by a source. I do not believe for one fucking second there was any true truth to that. I believe the White House's refutations. All right. Like that there was no discussion of it. I don't know where she got her information. I'm going to assume she was conned by an inside source. The SEC, though, like, this is one of those things where I'm sitting there and going, like, the week before a transaction closes, that kind of bombshell to be reported. If she had, because there are people who had puts on Twitter who made a lot of money on that one. And the fact that the very next day, Bloomberg, to me, this is a terrible report. Kinzukushi, so you buy Twitter or share will convert to cash? I assume so, yeah. Lil H, I should toot my own horn? Nope. Nope. With all due respect, I don't have to. I have you guys. You guys are very kind. You give me all my, you know. But here's the thing. Like, there were people who were smart. I listened to, my success in that play was not my own brain. It was the fact that I found smarter people and basically deferred to them. That's what I'm going to sit there and say. So, like, I don't want to toot my own horn on a lot of this shit, because that means that I also have to take a lot of shit, and I already do, when plays don't work out. Yeah, Soaring Kiwi, I have a lot of questions now about Bloomberg. I have a lot of questions. They posted also that Apple report about production being down, and that report, again, was, I'll say at the very least, missing context. So they've gone like 2 reports recently that I'm sitting there going like, yeah. Callie Otter, isn't Bloomberg the one that always puts out the anonymous Apple supplier that says demand is down? Yes, they've apparently done it like the last 3 years in a row. And it's become one of those great contra indicators where when you see people talking about Apple demand being down, no, they have a fucking cult. Their demand is almost never down. Ming Kuo is the analyst to listen to. Ming Kuo says production's down. Trust Ming Kuo. I'm assuming that's because Ming Kuo probably has an in with TSMC. And Pitoska, an idiot's gloating over the Twitter CEO being fired. That guy's a fucking Chad. In less than 1 year, Twitter got sold like for $54.20. It's amazing. Kev Life, didn't Apple imply soft next quarter? No. People are saying that. Apple basically said they expect to basically have less than a 8% growth year over year for next quarter. Next quarter's first quarter, which includes basically all of the holiday season, their comp is a record revenue. The fact that they're saying they still expect growth next quarter at all is fucking shocking. And by the way, the sell side only had them at like 4%. So I know I've seen a lot of people saying like they guided down. No, they fucking didn't. No, they didn't. Apple's next quarter is probably going to be pretty impressive. I actually, I went through it earlier, ChemLife. I showed their revenue by product line quarter over quarter for like the last few years. Apple, I think, is in a sneaky good position. I already sold out of my Apple, and I'm not going to hold on to Apple for a while. By the way, if I like Apple as a business, I would tell you right now, I'm not going to hold any long position in Apple for significant time. My concern is waking up one morning and Apple is going to be down a lot because antitrust is now a legitimate concern. Antitrust is a problem. Like, they are crushing other companies. And at some point, that's a risk. Spy is setting up for another Bronto. Uh-oh. Is it? We got a Bronto in the house? Jesus Christ. I mean, there are some bears getting fucked today. I feel bad for them. Red Swap PSA regarding Twitter. Your broker told you they will provide additional information regarding merger acceptance. You might be asked to accept the buyout. Yeah. Yep. Spotify called Apple out pretty big. Yep. Every European government's been calling them out recently. Yep. That's easy. Apple undefeated, never lost, except to Qualcomm. Andy Constant has been the fucking Chad the last like 2 or 3 weeks. Again, remember guys, this applies to me as well. All right. Absolutely. Any guru you follow on Twitter, on Reddit, on Twitch, all right? If you find someone who's 100% right, they are hiding shit. Andy has also had times where he's been wrong. Here's what I respect about Andy. He has flat out said when he's gotten shit wrong. He's gotten mocked by like Casio Cat, Wifey, and all of the kind of the most toxic motherfuckers on this platform. All right? But Andy hasn't deleted shit. Andy has admitted when he's wrong, and he's also made some excellent calls. And last night he called out Spies up 100 for tomorrow. He basically called it today would be bright green. Hey, B-Hood, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for the sub. 13 months. My God. You're just thinking about all the paper-handed bitches that sold Mega Cap after hours just to buy it back today. I'd be hesitant buying back too much of the Mega Caps. They had their story. If the market moves, they're going to move. That's fine. Guys, small caps. Keep in mind small caps, particularly if you truly believe we're at peak inflation, and more importantly, if you think we're not in an imminent recession situation, small caps are probably the better way to play. IWM is what I'm going to keep my eyes on. Now, some of the mega caps, Amazon in particular, that fucker's oversold. That should have never been down 20%. That was bullshit. Someone say money. Can I explain, like you were 5 or a golden retriever, why small caps are better? Intel's not a small cap. Not yet. Give them time. It's purely down to valuation. It's partially down to valuations. And they tend to be... I'm probably not going to do a good job explaining it. I'll say this much. There's been a few posts that have basically talked about the idea that, A, from a valuation standpoint, that they're, like, as a group, they're almost at historical lows. Historical lows. And then a lot of times, particularly if you're like late cycle, then you're looking for, like, in some cases, they grow almost kind of cyclical. I don't know, though. It's on valuation. And when you look at the index itself, like IWM is a great example. Look where they are. I mean, you are basically trading pretty close to pre-COVID. Wendy, this is the fun question. What do we do if we're at peak inflation and an imminent recession? That's a good question. Anyone want to buy China at 25-year lows? Man. Guys, I am reading a lot more that Hu Jintao was not purged by Xi Jinping. That unfortunately the guy is suffering from dementia. Yeah. It's ludicrous. Did you read the guy that talked about the Xi Jinping pivot? If Xi ends zero COVID, inflation could go nuts. So I don't know. I get that comment, but I don't know. And here's the thing. If China was trying to purge Hu Jintao, there was a funeral for a Henan province official They covered it on the news media in China, by the way. And the wreaths were showing that there was a wreath from Hu Jintao himself. They would never have shown that if they purged him. Second of all, Hu Jintao's son is actually a political figure and a party member. If Hu Jintao gets purged, his son would not still be shown on TV at all. Both of these things are happening. Someone say, money, you heard a tinfoil theory that the China zero COVID lockdowns is a way to crush demand and inflation. I don't know if I'd buy that. I think China's looking for demand. They are actively looking for demand. Inflation has not been a problem in China for quite a few months now. I know a lot of people used to say like China's only doing zero COVID to like export inflation, and it's like at the same time they do their currency manipulations, which strengthen the dollar and actually exported deflation. I'm with Prometheum on this one. You think China's economy is too weak, even if they reopen, to cause an inflation spike? I agree. Soaring Kiwi. Either way, though, Power moved to show him being removed on TV, but they didn't show it on local TV. That's the thing. There's a separate explanation that makes sense, and it's really unfortunate, which is Hu Jintao, unfortunately, is suffering from dementia and was starting to have an episode right there, and they didn't show it on Chinese TV in order to specifically, essentially, not shit on him. But I don't know. Hey, Varo, how you doing? Where we at on steel? Not touching it. Last night, iron ore in Singapore hit like a 2-year low. Fuck it. I'm not touching steel yet. Yep, windy. By the way, if you think USA has excess savings, China's way more with a 50% savings rate. Yeah, it's been a problem for a while. Sultan, why is everyone on VTard so bearish all the time? Most of the bulls got slaughtered and left. That or most of the bulls got mocked and just shut the fuck up. Yeah. The funny thing is, and this is me somewhat shitting on them, there's a few people who are very aggressively, like, put it this way, Prometheum would post a good, like, Prometheum and Steely Hands, I don't think they're bulls. I think they're broadcasting what they see. They're calling them. I call them umpires. All right. I remember Prometheum would post something and immediately we get hit with downvotes. And I was always like, what the fuck? Like, there's a few people on VTards who in particular just got incredibly aggressive if anybody posted anything that essentially was not the end of the world is coming, the market's going to hit 2,000. All right? And it's like, whoa. I mean, Prometheum, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, there's a few users, I'm not going to call them out by name, I haven't seen them post for weeks now. But these are the ones who literally, their posts were, you know what? If you were a bear, you were right. You're being proven correct. All the bulls were wrong. They should have listened to you. And you're reading that shit like, what the fuck? Carter Beworth. Oh, what's Chad Beworth saying? Yep. He was dead right. He was dead right. Oh. He called this out earlier, and I'll be honest, I didn't believe him. And again, Chad Beworth. So he does a lot of comparison charts. All right. So the important part here, he's not saying bearish on the NASDAQ. He's saying the NASDAQ gets outperformed by the SPY. He's right. He's fucking right. Damn, these headlines on the Musk Twitter are nuts. Entire data engineering team, let's go. Yeah, sounds about right. Listen, he owns the company. He's gonna do what he thinks is right. So, by the way, Chad B. Worth called out like a few months ago the idea that the NASDAQ was going to outperform the SPY. And I actually played that one. Problem was, in some cases, they both went down, but the SPY went down worse. So yeah. RDHR, how you doing, my friend? So this is a technical or fundamentals rally for Intel, or did something else? Oh man, I think the story on Intel, semis bottom on bad news. Now people understand why Intel fell. Essentially, the market now sits there and says, "Oh, so that's why Intel's down because of the news they just gave." So they're not going to keep punishing them. So now people think they bottomed. Semis do this weird thing. Yeah. Nope. Getting noped on. Down to all-time lows. Oh, man. You hate to see it. Are you buying SPY 12, 18 calls? IWM. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna buy SPY. By the way, guys, I'm over 80% cash now because of the Twitter share sell. Yeah, purging with 90 million. By the way, the one thing I'm gonna sit there and say about Elon Musk and Twitter, a lot of people, like, he's basically clearing off a lot of the bans. Good for him, by the way. At the same time, just wait for the pushback against Elon within, say, 2 weeks or so when he starts banning people again. Because the truth of the matter is, some people deserve to be deplatformed. And no, it's not a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment doesn't say the government must permit private companies or publicly held companies to give you a voice to shout shit. It's not the way it works. I think there's a lot of good longs. I think a lot of semiconductor stocks, by the way, if especially from like a longer term perspective, this sector has gotten smashed. Smashed. Okay, look at the SMH right now. And for anyone saying it's still trading above COVID, you know, still trading above pre-COVID times, yeah, and if I could pull up the revenue, it's so much bigger. So much bigger. Thoughts on TSMC leaps? I'd be cautious. Again, you're basically hoping for good news out of China. Augustus, what kind of read through? Tell you what, give me about 5 minutes and we will talk about it. By the way, someone had asked about silicon carbide earlier. Are you still around? If you're around, I'll answer you in like a 1 minute little spiel. Because it's kind of a cool topic. People know I love talking about it, so. If not, that's fine. Twitch streams, I think it's like in 2 or 3 weeks. K-Doge, do I think the Fed will pivot? Nope. The market seems to think so. No, I don't think the market does. I think the market believes the Fed what they say. We're getting 75 basis points. I think people pretending the market's going to pivot next year, that's the group I question. Spencer, your $55 covered calls you sold on Twitter. Well played, my friend. That's worthless, buddy. Give it up. Even the SPY 400 to 405 the end of next week if the FOMC language is less harsh. I mean, here's the thing. We're still getting 75 basis points next week. That should not be a shock. Rad, what do people mean by pivot? Do they mean the Fed changes rates because it's not working? Isn't that called capitulation? Well, I'm not so sure about that. What I'd sit there and say is, put it this way. If the Fed actually went through the process, pretend like we didn't get a rate hike. Pretend like we got a rate cut next week in FOMC. I think the market would absolutely shit itself because the immediate assumption there is imminent recession. If we got 50 basis points, do we rally? I don't know. It would depend on what they would kind of say as the reasoning. Basically, I think the market now finally believes the Fed and what the Fed says. So therefore, if the Fed surprised them, I don't think it would go well. I have no clue. It's a good question. I think someone smarter than me in chat will probably answer it for you. So be it 75 for sure, but after that we could see 50 and 25, which I think could be the case. And I don't think it's a bad call. The inflation data this notice no one's asked me to talk about any of the data released this morning, the PCE data that came through, and the reason why is because it's fucking boring. It's boring. It came in as expected. Yeah. Housing remains atrocious. Yeah. Yep, Beard's correct. Language around pivot has been silly. Pivot means drop rates. Pause means no rate increase. Downshift means reduce rate. Yes. Rad, I agree. By the way, Rad's making an incredibly good statement here. You thought the rates are not what matters. It's kind of the why behind the rates. They do 50, but say, we like the changes we've seen in inflation. Want to give time to let the economy adjust to the rate changes. That shouldn't shock the market. I agree with that. I agree with that. We get 50 basis points and Rad exactly what Rad said, then yes, I think we're fine. I think we rally. The next CPI is going to be a huge driver of where we head. I would agree. I think every CPI is just going to get increasingly more important, but I still think the argument that inflation peaked in June has been proven correct. Even if we see inflation flattening or even a sharp uptick, it's going to be hard pressed to beat June's numbers. June was nuts. But I also think that if people are thinking the Fed's going to be like ultra dovish, no, I don't think so. I don't think they can. I don't think they can. Inflation is still too high. We're getting 75 basis points, and you're not going to hear like what counts as dovish for the Fed. I don't think people are truly comprehending like what it actually like will sound like. It's not going to be like, oh, our job's done. J-Powell is going to remind everyone inflation's still too high. They still need to keep it under control. That's why they're going to raise rates. You've seen gas creep up around you and dump below 4. Hasn't crack spread started a contractor already? Seeking waifu, Target, Disney, AMD, potential plays. Which tickers? I would keep my eyes on Target. And AMD, I'm considering playing next week. From a market psychology standpoint, B-Hood, I absolutely agree. A lot of people keep saying like inflation's just going to come like roaring back. You need a structural reason, okay? The stock market's not going to drive inflation. It's not the way it works. They're completely different. That being said, you don't want to loosen up financial conditions significantly, and I will still maintain it's the bond market. If the 10-year dropped to 3%, or rather, correction, if like the 2-year or the 3-month dropped significantly, we'd have a problem. Yeah, cracks are strong. It's very regional. You know, I mean, Chem Life, aren't they dropping? Not like that they're not like still insanely profitable for like the refiners. And leave out California for a second. California's fucked. That's their own fault. What was it in the Volca era when inflation came back? Yeah, but it's very different. East Coast more fucked. That's a different like. Why do we have the Jones Act? Has anyone given a good answer to that question? If we could transport like diesel and refined products, we wouldn't be having this problem as much. We need more refineries. Period. By the way, one of the YouTube channels I really enjoy is the end. Is it? Oh, what's the fucking? The Jones Act is just a legacy protectionism. Yeah, sounds about right. Let me pull it up. There's a YouTube channel that is wonderful that you all should be aware of. Hold on. Right, and then where is it? There we go. USCSB, United States Chemical Safety Board. This is a fantastic YouTube channel. Let me give you guys the link. Like, I love this. They specifically put out a new video talking about the refinery disaster in Philadelphia. For those of you that don't know, there's a refinery that just basically blew up. And it covers exactly what happened. They have excellent like VX artists who've done the work here. It's super cool. I would highly recommend this YouTube channel. They cover all sorts of industrial incidents. They cover, like, for example, the Torrance explosion in California, the ExxonMobil refinery that blew up there. They also talk about the Texas City BP refinery explosion, which is fucking shocking as well. Worthwhile. All right. Give me a second to use the restroom and refill my water. I will be right back in 1 minute. Okay, folks. Be back. Now, think. Here we go. I want to hear this, but I want to start getting ready to talk about Intel. I have not seen this yet, but Josh Brown says, I don't think you're going to have a great year for growth in semis. So let's see what he says.
Show how their spending on the metaverse is a sore spot with investors. Maybe it's a boon for chip stocks. I mean, that's what Wells Fargo is talking about today. Josh, they say, Meta is expected to be a big Arista Networks customer. You've got NVIDIA, you've got AMD, which makes the CPUs for Meta and Pure Storage, already provides the flash storage for Meta. Should we think of this spending in a reverse way? What's bad for Meta is good for these chip names?
You know, it's an interesting question. I don't think that will turn out to be the case. because I think there is a recession happening in tech. It's not everywhere within tech, but this is not an environment where even if companies say they're going full speed ahead, I wouldn't believe them, because I just don't think the demand is going to be there. So as consumers have continued to move away from goods and towards services, and that shows no sign of reversing anytime soon, I just don't think you're going to have a great year for growth in the semis, regardless of any one big spending company. So I still think the semis are a good bet here. They are down substantially. I like them as a group. There are some names that are absolute outright buys right now, but as a group, I just think share prices are reflecting a much worse situation, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden, oh, you know what? Meta's going to keep spending. Let's buy more. I wouldn't take it that far. That seems like a step too far.
So, Joe, I mean, you do own AMD and NVIDIA. Well, what do you make of this report? Does it make sense to you?
So it's not just a 5/1/6 thing between Josh and I, but his comments are totally spot on. And I think that overall as a group, even the price performance this week, Scott. So I sat with you for overtime on Tuesday. We heard from Texas Instruments. We saw the decline for both Marvell and onsemi and Texas Instruments, and there was this resiliency the next day. SMH rallies in the wake of that. So I think a lot of negative news is priced in, but I think you have to follow what Adam Parker has told us, where you really have to be stock specific. You have to be highly selective. You have to study where the double ordering is actually occurring. Where is the retention of pricing power in a weakening demand environment? So it's an idiosyncratic decision on which names to own.
All right, and that leads me to Intel. Jenny, in overtime.
There we go.
Which maybe we'll hear from you on the backside of the report.
This is yesterday.
Going in?
Well, I think it's the kind of thing where, you think that everything is possibly in this stock and in this company and in this sector.
All the bad news.
All the bad news, right? Everything's just terrible. And that's true for the semi space overall. I think there's a bigger story too, which Josh touched on, which is tech is in recession. And specifically, Amy and I were debating this earlier, are semis in recession? We know PCs are in recession. But if we use this as a microcosm for the broader economy, you could say Intel, Teradyne, AMAT, everything we own, these stocks have been, their earnings have been in recession. And so if the market looks out 6 to 12 months in advance, and if investors do, then perhaps these share prices have already bottomed. Because if you look out past 2023, the earnings start to pick up. So for Intel, you go into the thing saying, please,
is that your bet? Is that your bet that you think? I mean, I know you're really hoping that they've bottomed, but do you look at Joe's laugh?
I know.
It's just been so bad.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but
it's just been bad.
It's been really bad. But I think the reality is they probably have, because you can now start to see the improvement in their earnings expectations for later in 23. We'll start to see 24, and the share prices are just stupidly cheap.
Josh Brown. You actually.
Yep. Isn't that interesting, huh? Which brings us to Intel. It brings us to Intel. And if you guys are thinking, Jay, look at how much Intel is up. Jay, Intel's up 9.5%. Jay, they may have bottomed. You kind of said it probably could happen. If you think for 1 second, I'm not going to roast these motherfuckers, you are brand new to the channel, and welcome. Please sub. Yes, it's time. It's time to shit on Intel. All right. Now, did anybody in here sell a single CPU, GPU, power management chip, flash storage, DRAM, networking integrated circuit? Fuck it. Did you sell a fucking case into the data center this quarter? Go ahead. Someone tell me. Did anybody sell anything into the data center? Did anybody make a single dollar of profit in the data center? Go ahead. Anybody? Are you telling me that all 180 of you did not make a single dollar in the data center? Well, good news for you guys. I have great news for you. You have company. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. you have company. You are not the only ones who did not make a single fucking dollar into the data center. Intel operating income in data center and AI group was down 99%. Zero. Carno Twitch, you made lots. You work in the data center. Well, you did better than Intel. Look at this. Yes. Littner says this slide is unbelievable. And my friend, I agree with you. Because right now, data center and auto are the two strength areas. They're the only fucking strong areas right now in data center and in the semiconductor space. Intel made jack shit. Oh, it gets fucking more ruthless. Anytime you go on our investing or our stocks, there's always some cultist talking about how Intel is a screaming buy on the valuation side. And then someone will always say, but Jay, at least they make their own chips. That's better than NVIDIA and AMD. And I am here to tell you that's not true. Intel's leading edge chips that they're going to be selling, that they've designed, are reliant on dies currently produced by TSMC. TSMC. Jordi Abado says, but 5 PE. As of this morning, CFRA pointed out their forward PE is now 13. Qualcomm is a better buy. This slide tells you everything. All right? The data center, they are getting their asses chewed up. Last night, nothing was more insulting. By the time the market and after hours closed, Intel was green, AMD was red. Remember, we already know AMD is already pre-reported. And guess what? They surpassed expectations in the data center. This zero here in operating margin, this is not because all of a sudden hyperscaler and cloud demand or data center demand is dead. No, we would have heard that from Marvell previously. We would have seen it in the earnings reports from Google, from Amazon, from Microsoft. Not one of them talked up any CapEx cuts in data center. I checked for it. No one says it. Meta's increasing their spend. That's why people are pissed at them. Yeah, that's where. Okay, up here, client computing group. This is the PC group. Operating income down 54%. Revenue down 17%. Data center revenue down 27%. The PC stuff, unless your name was Apple, we already know. Apple's the only one that grew. We already know. And that's why AMD pre-released. That's why NVIDIA pre-released. That's why NVIDIA cut guidance. That's why Micron cut guidance. Seagate cut guidance. Everybody by now knows the PC market is shit. The data center, the only people who seem to be having problems right now are Intel. Marvell did not. Broadcom did not. So next week, when AMD reports, we already know they're doing fine in the data center. That's why the real question for AMD is, what's their guide? Well, here's the thing. What is it? At some point next week, AMD is doing a presentation. AMD is doing a presentation to release their new Epic All right, we back? K-Dodge, what the fuck? Going too hard, yep. Intel sniped me. By the way, my CPU is powered by AMD, and my GPU is absolutely powered by NVIDIA. Yep, I'm back. All right. All right. Sorry about that. Intel struck me. They got me good. Yeah. So next week when AMD reports, we already know they're going to beat on data center. We already know that. The question is, what are they guiding? The reason I think they're going to guide strong, it's the fact that specifically AMD will have a new product out. Holy shit, Prometheum. That is fucking savage. I'll get back to that in a second. So the idea is, the reason I like AMD is because I do not think that what Intel is describing is basically an entire sector thing. I think this is an Intel thing. And the fact that Intel's had to push back their chip Sapphire Rapids to, at the minimum, end of first quarter. Meanwhile, AMD is basically unveiling the new EPYC data center CPUs next week. I think AMD is destroying them in the data center so much more than we even expected. Now keep in mind, Intel is the market leader. But, go one step further. This week, Microsoft disclosed $800 million in energy-related headwinds just in Europe for running data centers. The difference between come first quarter, so when AMD is going to be guiding, the difference between running an AMD CPU in the data center versus, at this time, an older version of an Intel data center CPU, the cost difference will be substantial. Plus the ESG difference. We don't talk about ESG too often around here because we kind of mock it. But if you are managing a company running big data centers and you are concerned about your emissions, you're concerned about your energy bills because it's good decisions, holy shit. You can't, in good conscience, make a purchase of an Intel product. You can't. Not until Sapphire Rapids comes out. Because it can't really compete with what Lisa Su is about to unveil next week. And everyone already knows that. And someone said, well, Jay, shouldn't we just buy puts on Intel? No, it's probably bottomed. This stock is at this point pricing in the apocalypse. I am not buying in on Intel. I would love to see Intel cut the dividend, and then I would buy. The idea that Intel is essentially making deals with Brookfield Asset Management to give away about half the cash flow from their Arizona fab complex just to fund, they sold off Mobileye just to fund like their capital expansion plans while keeping the dividend is bullshit. But by the way, when you look at these earnings, and by the way, look at this, their fiscal year 2022 outlook, 47% gross margin. It gets worse. There's actually a slide going around, apparently came from an internal Intel meeting, where they compared their margins against AMD, and then they compared their margins against what they call a theoretical IDM. IDM stands for Integrated Device Manufacturer. Basically, IDM is a semiconductor company that both designs and manufactures. So they stapled TSMC together with AMD, pretended like that was a company, a theoretical company to compete against Intel. Their gross margins were 80%. The theoretical IDM, what Intel should be compared to. And you see Intel is basically saying by the end of the year, they'll finish at 47.5% gross margin. This is terrible. Next quarter, 45% gross margin. It's fucking horrible. The one thing that I will give them credit for, what did they talk about? I'll get back to Mobileye in a second. I want to see when they talk about, yes, their transformation. Transformation is one of those like HR-friendly terms to basically mean layoffs, restructuring. This is why I think if Amazon and Meta had just, and by the way, Google had just, they could have delivered the results they given had they just talked about some efforts to contain costs. I think their stocks would have been appreciating it. Because Intel has been very clear. They're looking for $3 billion in savings next year essentially through laying people off. Yeah, getting canceled. Intel's fighting me hard, guys. Intel's fighting me fucking hard. Anyway, Mobileye did pretty good. One of the issues behind Mobileye is their margins are actually pretty low, even compared to the rest of Intel. So that could be part of the reason why they got rid of it. Mainly, they needed the cash to fund their capital expansion plans. So, hey, American Buzz, how you doing? All right, we've had two connection problems in the last 10 minutes. Let's hope this doesn't continue. Anyway, back to the market. God damn. Apple with the casual 7.7%. Amazon stopped funding AWS for Twitch. Yeah. Amazon. For all the shit that both Amazon and Microsoft have gotten, I liked their actions in regards to the cloud. They basically forecasted some slowing revenue growth. Both companies specifically called out they were working with customers to reduce consumption. To me, this is a business case of Amazon and Microsoft prioritizing essentially maintaining customers. And if we watch the market, or rather the economy, truly rebound next year at some point, they're going to pay off for this. They have done the right thing. By the way, Oracle's been the Chad. We should have all been in Oracle. Look at them. Look at Oracle go. We should have been in Oracle. Yeah, Amazon still down 8%, but Amazon started today off down like, what, 20%? And look at them. Yep, Amazon is prioritizing customer experience, yeah. Steezy, what reports before earnings, Monday? Anyone have a link? I'd love to see a link. ChemLife, yeah. McDonald's. McDonald's did really well. McDonald's had an excellent earnings. By the way, their forward PE is more than Amazon. Or sorry, more than Apple. McDonald's had a hell of a fucking quarter. Augustus, crazy to think that Oracle was the most valuable company in the world during .com bubble. Yeah. .com was weird. By the way, for anyone saying that they feel like tech companies are like overvalued, it's just like the .com. No, it's very different. Hey, all tea leaves, how you doing, my friend? I've missed you this week. World App, you sold Apple today, so did I. All tea leaves. Apple was the one we were most comfortable playing. The one we're most comfortable playing. Apple did kind of what we expected them to do. I'm glad they're getting appreciated from the market. They should. I thought their quarter was excellent. The fact that they had a lot of FX headwinds, and they basically only got 8 days of the new iPhone in this quarter. Yeah. What do I think about the China cuts on AMD's earnings? You mean the China restrictions? I don't think it's that big of a deal for AMD. And I think Lisa Su's already came out and said, basically, they didn't see it having a significant impact. Soaring Kiwi, I like this statement, by the way. It's an interesting rotation now that we are seeing companies like Costco, McDonald's, Kroger, etc. becoming overvalued like tech did the end of 2021. Yeah. Yep, Fig. Met someone online who talked about day trading during the dot-com bubble. Entire NASDAQ was penny stocks. Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of these companies, like, everything was new. When you were talking about tech connected to the internet, oh, it's brand new. Oh, what's this, Chem Life? I assume this is the, oh, yeah. Oh. This is interesting, guys. In the commodity biz, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this called backwardation? You have contango, which I thought contango was further out, prices are higher. And then you have backwardation. Backwardation is basically the equivalency of deflation in the sense that it encourages people, if you can, which you can't really do for energy, don't buy now, just wait. You see it getting cheaper. Yep, steep backwardation. Yeah, very steep. I would almost say if there was the way to play against it, I wouldn't jump in yet, but everything else reverts. This will be no different. But yeah, it kind of shows you, Northeast in particular, they have stupid policies. I worked for an energy/utility company up in the Northeast, and they kept banning, like, we kept trying to get pipelines for natural gas into New York, and they kept banning it for environmental reasons. Fine, we'll keep trucking it up. We'll keep using railroads. That only emits more carbon. What the fuck? Biden being an idiot and calling on energy companies to lower prices? How dare he? It's politics, my friend. It's politics. I wouldn't call it being an idiot. I can't believe that they managed, like, Biden asked the gas stations to lower gas, and the next day started a streak of like 99 days where national gas prices dropped. All tea leaves, it doesn't accomplish anything. No, that's what the SPR is for, apparently. Yeah. Yeah, someone asked about AbbVie. They reported this morning, and I think there was a problem with one of their drugs going generic. Yeah, temporary economic. Yeah, Botox sales, funny enough. But yeah. Hey, Jetski, how do I feel about the Fetterman debate? I mentioned it very briefly yesterday. No one's winning that one. Fetterman's not healthy. He should not be up there. Fetterman's not healthy. At the same time, from like a political like strategy standpoint, Dr. Oz said one of the stupidest fucking statements I've ever heard any politician say when he specifically said abortions between a woman, her doctor, and her political leader. That's the stupidest fucking statement. Fetterman's not healthy. He should not be out there. That stroke impacted him. Fetterman's actually, we call him Lieutenant Governor Stone Cold. Fetterman, despite his look as a former Harvard grad, he's a smart guy. He mentally, like, that stroke impacted him. And I get people are saying he's going to get better. It was malpractice to put him up the debate stage. It was so bad. And unfortunately, I don't know what the Dems can do. Dr. Oz is a fucking shyster. Dr. Oz is a fucking shyster. I think the Republicans could have picked a better person. Former grad. Yeah, there are a lot of idiots at Harvard too, but Fetterman's a really interesting like political case study. That stroke though, it's so sad. Yeah, B-Hood, he's a really smart guy. He might be okay mentally, but if it's just aphasia, he can get past it. But how does it like put it this way, if I'm still voting in Pennsylvania, there's almost no fucking way I'm gonna be voting for Oz. Not because of my political leanings. The guy himself is fucking horrible. Jetski, ironically, I agree with you. Like, Dr. Oz is not a conservative. He's not a conservative. I would much prefer, like, Fetterman, but the health standpoint, oh. Yep, C-Dizzle is correct. Too many Republicans ran the primary, split the vote. Yep. Oz is a con man. I'm not a fan of Dr. Oz. Let's be blunt. Let's be blunt. He's a... And again, I can't get it. Like, Fetterman has a justification for why he was not good on that debate stage. Dr. Oz, literally, it's up there with Dan Quayle. I haven't seen any answer. By the way, Marco Rubio, you have quotes of him back in the primary against Trump, etc. I have not heard someone like, it's up there with what's his name, Huntsman, speaking Chinese during a Republican primary, presidential primary. His political run ended that moment. Dr. Oz saying abortion should be between a woman, her doctor, and their political leader is not a conservative statement. It's a fucking terrible national quote. It's horrible. You work with Pat Toomey's former campaign manager. He gave you bad primary advice. Ugh. How do I feel about ranked choice? Kind of like it. Whiskey Jack Black, I don't know what the answer is. Eldorado Just, what do you say? $1 million sweep and block just went into Qualcomm 11/11/120s. Their earnings are next week. Qualcomm almost certainly beats. Qualcomm hasn't missed earnings in like years, by the way. If they were going to guide down, they would have guided down. By the way, they already revised their guidance previously. Remember also, Qualcomm does not make parts for the PC market. Down Lemur, unfortunately, and this is it's not something anyone wants to hear. The two-party system has created by society. It's not created by the political elite. It's just what fucking happens. We've had multiple parties. The truth is, human beings prefer a choice between two things. You throw a third thing in, they get fucked. Yeah, where Nuvia Gang at? Oh, Sagana. By the way, is anyone paying attention to Qualcomm versus ARM? I'm not going to talk about it yet in depth because I'm going to be honest, I'm not smart enough to. Hey, Russian Delight. We touched on Mr. Pelosi. We mentioned him earlier. He's probably attacked by someone from Wall Street. I don't know if that's the case. I don't want to speculate on the motive. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. All right, here's the post, by the way. If you guys want to do some light reading, ARM sued Qualcomm. Qualcomm has countersued. This is their briefing. And holy shit, we're going to have to keep our eyes on this one. Here's the big thing, though. ARM apparently is changing their business model. And wow, if ARM is trying to do what this is alleging they are trying to do, it's going to be ARM versus Qualcomm, ARM versus Apple, ARM versus Marvell, ARM versus Amazon. ARM will die. Nothing. If you guys have ever heard of the architecture called RISC-V, yeah. RISC-V is the alternative to ARM and x86. x86, remember, is the instruction set's technical term for it that basically drives both Intel and AMD. For RISC-V, which is probably on its way up, the idea that ARM is trying to basically start getting end user companies to get direct IP, it's fucked up. It's RISC-V. Okay, thank you for that. What didn't the V stand for something? Okay, if it's 5, cool. RISC-V. I'll start calling it RISC-V. RISC-V sounds like a boy band to City. It's a boy band. But yeah, so RISC-V, thank you, is an instruction set, and it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, so I made the post basically saying Qualcomm's legal department getting ready for action. Someone else has described Qualcomm. It's not my quote. Qualcomm is a law firm with engineers. Why they want to fight them, I don't know. I don't like ARM's chances. By the way, ARM's in an IPO next year. Like, the idea that they're going through, if this is what's happening, ooh. LT Lees, Musk's gonna be terrible for Twitter? I don't know. I'll say this much. All right. All the people that are praising Elon Musk right now, he's unbanning people. Good for him, by the way. They're going to get really pissed off in about 2 weeks when they get rebanned because some people don't deserve to be platformed. And as soon as Musk's in charge and realizes he can't afford an exodus, and there's already like people posting examples of shit people are saying already, but you're like, yeah, it's not a First Amendment issue. Twitter is a private company. Hey, Whiskey Jack Black, what happened to your Twitter shares? They were stolen. The hedgies got them. Sometime within the next week or so, you should be receiving $54.20 a share. But I'm willing to give Musk a chance on Twitter because Twitter's been a fucking clown show. I'm willing to give him a chance. But he can't turn this site into 4chan. All tea leaves. You underestimate Musk's love for having a spotlight. He will keep them unbanned because it attracts news and scandals that are short of federal investigations. At some point, though, he will lose any advertising. If the day that Twitter becomes essentially only advertisements for gold, silver, guns, and My Pillow, then what the fuck? Like, remember, he has creditors. He has equity investors. Like, he can't shit away that money, right? Fox still has serious advertisers, by the way. How big is the data center business this year? I don't know the exact number. Pretty big. If data center was going down in the next quarter, Microsoft, Google, or Amazon would have called out CapEx cuts. They didn't. If they called out cuts, their stocks wouldn't have gotten hammered. Ooh, Steezy, thank you for this. Will horse breeders start to advertise on Twitter? I love my audience. You guys are like the proper level of assholes. I guess the page is down. Does anyone know if there's a problem with like AWS? Is today one of them days? Because I've had a few different sites kind of crash. I don't know if it's my internet or not. TSMC, you weak? Yeah. Gets no love. The Pelosi attack seems to be motivated out of political conspiracy theories. Yeah, that worries me. Amazon's really going to keep rising, isn't it? I think Texas Instruments will have now completely recovered from their earnings. They're almost there. About $1.50 away from recovering. Hey, while making, how you doing? HB Votto, this is a good point. Why would that be surprising with Trump and MTG telling people Dems are literally killing ours? Just last month, they just spout violence. Hold on, though. One counter perspective, HB Votto. One counter perspective, because this also, I don't disagree with you, but I want to call out something else. I get particularly annoyed when, even on the left side, okay, you have people who basically present this image like anybody who's essentially like not hardcore ESG, etc., is killing the planet and therefore killing people, or is against like universal health care, is wanting people to die in the streets. Because that the attack we don't talk about is the Republican congressional softball team getting shot up on a fucking field. And literally, it would have been the worst like political act of terrorism in U.S. history had it not been that there was a fucking like cop right there, because that guy was about to shoot a good portion of Congress. Rad says there's a difference between that and claiming someone is running a pedo ring out of their basement. You're not wrong. The problem is, in this day and age, when we keep getting very hyperbolic on this, you're engaging crazy people already, and now you're radicalizing them. That's my issue. Yes, I think I will view a difference between someone trying to paint their opponents as immoral for not supporting your stance as claiming your opponent then is running like a pedophilia ring out of a basement. I absolutely agree there's a difference. But they're both bad. And at a certain point, we need to get fucking crazy. I don't think we have a lot of radical sentiment, chat. No, I don't agree with that. So what you mean is the guy who attacked him was a crazy conspiracy theorist nudist who was looking for Nancy with a hammer. That's scary. Apparently both him and Paul had hammers. Like, stop, hammer time. But Whiskey Jack Black, that's not exactly true. I know Republicans. Put it this way. Obamacare was a conservative idea born out of what? Brookings Institute? That famed liberal, Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to the market. We'll move away from the political shit, because it never works well for me. Doesn't make me money. Sorry, guys. Do we have the earnings calendar for next week? Someone tried to post it. Let me see if I can get it back up. Whiskey Jack Black. Jay, we are not in Obama era politics. Shit. For anybody wondering like why we occasionally we do talk about politics, I think it's important because if you understand like politics and particularly policy, and you don't get radicalized by some crazy person like on Twitter, it helps you understand markets a bit better. Okay, how many times have people told you like on Twitter, oh, Biden is weak, so foreign leaders are going to do this? Hopefully by now you see there's a lot of things you can shit talk Biden for. The notion of weakness on on geopolitics, that should not be. He's the most hawkish since GW, since George W. Bush. Put on the calendar the Monday, sure thing. It seems like the site's down, so let me pull up instead on this. Earnings. So November 1st, is that? No, it's the 31st. Arista Networks, which is already mooning. Is that Stryker? Is SYK Stryker? Isn't this company a fraud? There's a short report against these guys. SPY's going nuts? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Good for the SPY. I'm encouraging that. SYK. Look at this. They have a short report against this. I know that. There's a short report against them. This is medical devices. I think there's a lot of reasons to not like them. Ooh, but they haven't sold shit. They're all free. But not today. Am I playing AMD's earnings? Almost certainly yes. I like AMD. Stryker makes hospital stuff. Yeah, it's a medical supply. I know that much. But yeah, there is supposedly a short report out against them. Oh, here we go. There we go. Victory. How am I going to play AMD's earnings? Hopefully pants down, cock out, palms up. Both hands. Firm but supple grip. Nice tug action. I anticipate they will fucking moon. Seeing Intel today is kind of a giveaway. My only concern is they're mooning too much into it. With lube, at that point, I shouldn't need it. I shouldn't. I expect them to do very well. Yep, so Monday for earnings. Global Payments have no thoughts. Really, the only one I have thoughts... Well, hold on. Panasonic. What's Panasonic's ticker? Goose Goose Duck tonight? You fucking know it. The ball tickling. If I have two hands on my cock, I can't tickle my balls. Someone say money. AMD will have to moon on guidance since earnings are already released. Yes. Next week is spicy. You guys recognize there's quite a few companies here I like. There's quite a few companies I like here. What's Panasonic's ticker? Someone help me out there. In the morning, on semi. I like on semi. I still don't know if I'm going to hold them. I may just sell before the end of the day and then hope they go down and buy. When Call of Duty this weekend. I'll be playing it. Panasonic, the concern is consumer electronics is weak and everyone knows it. I imagine it is a cheap stock right now. Like, how much lower can they go, right? PCRFF. I can't even pull them up. That's how disrespectful. All right. I guess I can't pull them up. Yep, it's Japan. Panasonic, famous Japanese company. Do I see Amazon rising next week? I don't know. Next week's FOMC, I don't know how the market's going to respond. We're at the mercy of bond yields and the dollar right now until the Fed speaks. Ronap, has anyone seen Arc Space Exploration? It's got shit like John Deere. And how, if she would do more of that shit, pick profitable companies and put them in her indexes, it wouldn't be doing that bad. God damn. We're going to hit 3,900. That's what the feud say right now. And by the way, the 10 year's been going up. It's holding relatively steady. And the dollar is higher, but again, holding steady. Coinbase earnings have to be bad. Yes, I would assume so. The problem is it bottomed? You see Amazon retesting its recent low. Is that a post-market low? Because I don't know how much those matter. We'll see. You guys know I'm probably wrong. No, 87 was. That's right. 87 last night. So that could happen with Amazon. I think if Amazon sits there and basically takes back this kind of area, it's shall we say, a good sign. Any thoughts on Airbnb? I don't know. I don't know. By the way, FOMC should be Wednesday. I would assume. FOMC starts Tuesday. It's usually a 2-day conference. Unless I'm wrong, someone correct me. Merle what's Amazon's authorized repurchase? I don't think they have one. Do they? Guys, can we please pour one out for the Bears? Today has not gone well for them. Today has not gone well for them. VIX is underneath 30. It's still dropping. I'm taking the futures right now. And, yeah, we're not too far away from 3,900. Yeah, FOMC is a 2-day event. Yep. Yeah, FOMC is Wednesday. Yeah, that's when it's released. Got it. Yep, Chanos can have bad timing. Yep, but he does not like Coinbase. Noxter, rest in peace, Bear Gang. You'll be missed. But keep in mind, they will come back. They're just hibernating at the moment, and that's fine. We respect them. Monap, if Twitter is done and Musk didn't have to sell lots of Tesla, doesn't that remove a big downside risk? I've heard an interesting argument, which is he probably got a bridge loan, meaning he can sell at any point in the future. But basically, each day he doesn't. He's essentially paying off some form of interest. I don't know if that's true or not. Here's the important thing, and I don't want you guys playing on the base of this, because we've known I've been wrong. I thought he was going to sell some stocks. If Elon didn't have to sell stocks, I assume he would have said so. The fact that he hasn't said shit makes me think, and the fact that he hasn't, by the way, he hasn't sold Monday or Tuesday because he hasn't released a Form 4. The fact that he hasn't said he doesn't have to sell or revealed any additional debt financing is an interesting tell. So, oh my God. Can we? Like, we're up 2.3%. Oh my God. How's Apple doing? I'm willing to bet we all sold too soon. I didn't top ticket, but I'm not complaining. Ronap, when does a trade window close? Oh, he's got like 2 months, something like that. I think it's up until like 2 weeks before the next earnings. So he has a lot of time. Are my snow calls green? Let me see. I think the answer is still no. Oh, hold on. They're close. They are very close. Less than 10%. Go snow. Go snow. Go snow. Come on, snow. Do it. Come on. Come on, Snowflake. Just go up a little bit more. TSMC is perplexing, barely budged on all this pump. It kind of works differently. It shows you that TSMC has geopolitical risk. So it sucks. You're tempted to buy Amazon calls for next week. I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I think there might be better plays. Then again, Amazon got brutalized. Amazon should not have been down 20%. I don't like their earnings. It should not have been down 20%. Come on, Snowflake. Keep going. So back to next week. In terms of the themes of next week, let's look at it carefully. Again, like next week is a lot more telling. A lot more telling than this week. This week was mega caps, right? Next week, you got everything from onsemi, AFLAC, NXP, Arista, Lilly, Pfizer, Toyota, BP. You have beer, you have Uber. I mean, shit. Tuesday pre-market's fucking loaded. Tuesday aftermarket, also loaded. Wednesday, Novo Nordisk and CVS and Humana. So basically at healthcare. And finally, Qualcomm is a headliner. No Meta on the same day. No Meta on the same day. That makes me really happy. Thursday's got Cigna and Wayfair. You have Moderna. You have Kellogg's. You have Royal Caribbean. Aftermarket, you have PayPal, Starbucks, Warner Brothers Discovery. Oh, God. You got Square, i.e. Block, DoorDash, Cloudflare, and Coinbase. Then Friday, Enbridge and Hershey and Cardinal Health. There's all sorts of good companies. And DraftKings. Jesus. This is, like, next week's loaded. So who do I think will do best on earnings? Oh, God. I think AMD will do well. I think Qualcomm will do excellent. AMD's already pre-reported, so maybe that's not fair. Qualcomm, I think, does very well. Hershey's, I'm interested to see what they say. Starbucks as well, I'm interested to see what they say. Fortinet burned us last time. I'm still interested to see what they say as well. Estee Lauder could be an interesting call as well. I mean, a lot of these are, like, I don't know how to play them yet. I'm going to have to go through this weekend and try to look through. But there's probably some really good names here. I always skip Fortinet. You're right. And I shouldn't. Pfizer should do well. Novo Nordisk, I'm not sure. Aren't they facing a lot of competition from Eli Lilly in the obesity drug front? As of now, I'm still in onsemi. I'm probably going to hold. I don't know if it's the right play. I'm still fighting in my head about that one. I'm still fighting in my head. It's the issue with onsemi. You had, apparently there's a report coming out now that Texas Instruments is basically cutting prices on all their PMICs, so power management integrated circuits. I don't even know if on compare, what it's called, competes against them. I'm worried, though, that I don't know what their guidance looks like. And not only that, last quarter, onsemi had an excellent earnings report, and they got dropped 5% on it because Wall Street didn't want to look past, what's it called? They didn't want to look past the fact that they showed a decrease in gross margin and a decrease in cash flow, even though they explained it previous quarter what would happen, and that quarter they explained it. And it's almost like people just read the top line, which sucked. Last quarter, the best way to have played onsemi was to not play the earnings. It was to buy it the next day when it dropped. And they went fucking insane after that. I do like the fact that onsemi is Monday morning, though. Yep, can the SPY break 3,900? That's the question. Match Group could be interesting next week. I assume Bumble's not next week. Bumble, I think Bumble supposedly is doing better than Match right now, even though Match is the more like cash flow generative company. Either way, both those stocks are dead fucking bodies. They've both gotten absolutely destroyed. Come on, Snow. Go green. A little bit more. I'm at negative 2.3%. Yeah, I told you the daily chat. Yeah, matches. I had a reason for liking them. I wrote a DD on them a while back. QQQ's getting over 281. Nice. You feel for AbbVie. Amazon's really, I mean, Amazon's at 103 basically. Qualcomm with a nice calm, 3.7% up. CVS, again, I really like CVS. I'm not sure if I'll play them for earnings this time. Thoughts on Pfizer? I like Pfizer. Any new orders they've gotten for Paxlovid or for the COVID vaccine is not baked into their financial model. It's all new. Pfizer is a company I'm going to hold for a very long time. SPY hit 3,900, SPX rather. Oh, yes. Yep. Snowflake, just by the way, for me, hit flat. Nope, back to red. Come on, Snowflake. By the way, Snowflake is clearly down for cloud concerns. How's Palo Alto doing today? All right, we back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on. I know there's like storms in the area, and it's very windy. I don't know if that's what's impacting it, but it's definitely like my overall network. Oh, FinDivi. Who else is in the data center business with Intel and AMD? Depends on who you're talking about. You're talking about the data center customers or data center like suppliers, because there's a lot of players in that space. All right, there, boom. My my Snowflake just sold for a 5% gain. Windmaster, I called. Says it's windy outside, not windy like you, my friend. Who's competing with Intel and AMD? It's not direct comparison in a sense. So put it this way. NVIDIA, yes. NVIDIA is a bit more specialized. Honestly, a lot of the competition is now the companies building out their own CPUs for data center or their compute chips. Let's call it that. So in a lot of times, you're talking now about, believe it or not, Microsoft, Marvell. Marvell matters. They're helping Microsoft specifically. Amazon for themselves. Because Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, and Google are the biggest data center players right now. Tinjenko, with FOMC next week, do I sense danger? Kind of. I sense volatility. How about that? I don't know how it plays out, though. Marvell matters. That was that white wrapper. No. All right, guys, let me get my food ready so I can come back in time for the poll. I will be right back. All right, folks, we're back. VIX hit 25. Nice. Tomorrow, I don't know if the entire market moons with FOMC, but if we, oh, wow, IWM's going nuts. If we see any kind of dovish conversation points, it's going to be very positive. It's going to be very positive. I think people keep assuming like any day the market goes green, and I hear this a lot from like Bloomberg and like CNBC. They always have a person on, they're like, oh, well, the market's green, and like, you know, Jay Powell doesn't want to see that. No, I don't think Jay Powell cares that much. I think his eyes are much more on the bond market. And besides which, he smacked down the market when the market was at 420. We are at 390. We are still below that level. Plus, he's gotten a lot more positive data. All right, guys, let's get the poll. Let's get the poll. Oh, my God. I'm going to do I'm going to do 389. I'm going to make it tough. The Bulls have been winning a lot recently. Okay? 389. That's the number. You have 2 minutes to get your bets in. Go if you do not see the poll. Please refresh. Please refresh Twitch. Why do a poll if I'm going to rig it? Because y'all are gluttons for punishment. That's why. Melly seems interesting. Isn't Melly like the Amazon retail business and with a bit of video game? Video games, but it's like South America's version of Amazon's retail business. It doesn't have the sexy AWS side, right? Is that the case? Down Lemur, you bet the market's flat tomorrow. Dick. I agree, though. Because it's closed. One more week. Yep. Isn't the top of JPM collar around 390? I thought it was. What happens at the top collar? What happens if we get there? Do they have to re-roll it? You love Melee. Use it constantly. All small mom and pops biz moved on the Melee when they had to shut for COVID. Nice. Problem is the dilution. Okay. JPM only rolls the collar quarterly. Okay. So what happens if the SPY escapes the collar? Huh? Hershey with the steel chair. Sorry, guys. I honestly, I don't know what the fuck's going on. My connection's been so good the last 2 weeks, and then just turned to shit. Let's check in to see how the VTards are doing today. I hope they're doing well. The algorithm is watching. By the way, I assume there's no fucking way you don't see people taking profit. So Days, thank you very much. Go Rebs, your wife's gone for the weekend. We should go out for beers at some point. We should go out for beers. I don't see a lot of human beings face to face, so. Ghost match is going. Any interesting options activity? Brontosaurus? Is there a confirmed Bronto? Here, let me share with you guys. Also, Go Rebs, if your wife's gone, you can play Goose Goose Duck tonight with the boys, right? And girls. We have females as well. Yeah, Goose Goose Duck on Friday nights, man. That's where it's at. Yep, so that's the link, by the way, that shows you next week's earnings. Any interesting on-semi activity? You watching the World Series tonight? Oh, fair enough. I assume rooting against the Phillies. So a lot of people buying puts next week for on. I also see a lot of calls. Not sure I see a direction. Females, yeah, I should say women. Woman is a female human. I like this. Been in meetings all morning and haven't been able to keep with the news. Can someone please possibly fill me in on why we are rallying today? Nancy's husband got attacked with a hammer, which will leave him unable to trade for a few weeks, which means no major political corporate decisions will be made during that time, so bullish. Profit taking kicking in. Is it finally time? Oreos is Nabisco? Who owns Nabisco? If the Phillies win the World Series, go all in on puts. If the Phillies win the World Series, go all in on guns and ammo, right? It's Mondelez. Mondelez is next week. Kellogg's is running hard. Kellogg's is a weird one. So they own like everything. They own a lot. CPG is incredibly consolidated. Ambrose, Astros should have been a banned organization for cheating. Know that I do not fully disagree with you. Mondelez is huge. How does a super millionaire like Paul Pelosi, especially with political connections, not have a decent, secure time? I assume he lives in a nice area, but like, I haven't read up, honestly, because I've been streaming. I haven't read up the full circumstance. I don't know what's going on. Jesus, someone was aggressive. Someone bought 1,500 $130 calls on Qualcomm for next week. There was only 1,800. Is there a corresponding puts position? No, I don't see it. How's GME doing? Are they running? They've had a pretty good fucking day. Yeah, live in a nice area. It's safe at home. Not anymore. Yeah. Yeah, the Astros are the ones that got caught. AMD's forward PE of 19 looks pretty high. Is that their forward PE? I've got them at 15. Let me see what CRFA says. The one thing I'll say is AMD has always had a higher PE. Hmm. Okay, so CFRA. Yeah, they're basically giving them a price target of $85, which is 20 times forward PE. I believe, yeah, that's a good point, Prometheum. I guess forward PE usually refers to just the full, like 4 quarters ahead. I guess fiscal year should be used. Isn't AMD's usual trough valuation something like 18 times? You got 13.7 forward PE on AMD right now in Morningstar. Garfo, we should get you out of Brazil. You should come join us. Bring linguiça. Bring linguiça. I love linguiça. Oh. Can we get some Brazilians up in here? You see trends in the US. The problem is all the shit you see, generally speaking, doesn't happen here, but yeah, FinViz, that was at a 15 forward PE. You live in the US multiple times, got ya. Picanha, oh yeah. Whoa, big volume on SPY just jumped right there. Are we going to keep clapping bear cheeks all day? I'm assuming someone's taking profit. Like, are we just going to clap all the cheeks? Jay, mid next year, we should buy a good position on Teradyne. I read that note, yeah. When Apple's 3 nanometer happens, yeah. Yeah, Sao Paulo, my understanding, for those of you not familiar with Brazil, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sao Paulo is like it's not the political capital. Sao Paulo is the financial capital of Brazil. NVIDIA going to gap fill. Let's check out NVIDIA for a second. Good for them. NVIDIA is very cheap right now. Oh, Sida. You sold your Apple call in the morning. Don't worry. A lot of us did. I didn't sell too far off the top, though, so I'm feeling pretty good. Sao Paulo has money. Might be a weird combo of New York and Miami. Yeah. Do I still have Tesla puts? Well, not after today. Well, after today, I'll have my November 150s. And that's because they're fucking obliterated. Thank God the rest of Twitter made me more than enough to cover it. So that decision last Friday to basically buy an additional 600 shares of Twitter covered my Tesla fuck up. I did very well in the Twitter play, shall we say. Like, break even for like the year? Fuck no. I have to wait. Intel wrecking you? Oh no, D-Gib. Oh no. I'm so sorry, my friend. Yeah, we were not a fan of that play. But it's okay. I wouldn't count on Intel going down. If the whole market goes down, they may go down, but yeah. Hey, Connor. Did I play Apple? Yes. Apple was the mega cap I felt the most comfortable playing. I thought Apple would do well, and their earnings were there. They did very well. I'm pleased. Long term, I'm not holding Apple, by the way. One of these mornings, we will wake up and there will be an antitrust announcement of some sort, and it will bring the stock down. That's the cautionary note. Go the cheetah. Oh God. Herpes and glitter at the same time. Who knew? The real plays, by the way, the entire time were Oracle and Adobe. Remember when Adobe got fucked over? Huh? Remember that Figma acquisition that no one liked? I'll give you a hint. That was it. All right? What was the last company to actually get broken up by an antitrust suit? I have no clue. The Ligma. Not the Ligma. D-Gib, you saw Bear FinTwit reacting to Apple being 24 billion net positive but spending 25 billion in buybacks. Thoughts? I like it. It's bullish. If a company is willing to buy back more shares than their current their current free cash flow, it tells you one of two things, and usually both things. Number one, they already have a pocket of cash. And number two, they're not concerned about running out of cash in the future, which means they know the next quarter is going to be fine. Yeah, Apple has so much cash. Yeah, Meta was too big on buybacks. And hey, Penny, how you doing, my friend? I hope you're doing well, my friend. Yeah, like, who was it? KLAC. KLAC, again, continues to basically make like this much free cash flow and then buy back. Shit. Texas Instruments this week in the last 12 months, Texas Instruments gave back a lot more money than they actually earned in free cash. Terrible. I'm so sorry, Penny. Yeah, today's a fierce day. Even Meta's green. Oh, it's probably oversold. I mean, Meta's weird. CDAW, dude, I haven't really bought anything today. I added one more call to my Amazon calls because it was just fucking cheap. I sold my Apple. And yeah, I am very heavy cash. I'm very heavy cash. I'm worried about the froth. Absolutely. You don't trust people who own Meta. Problem with Meta is literally he didn't have to completely axe spending. You almost want to look at Mark Zuckerberg and say, repeat after me, asshole. You know, we're going to reduce our spend rate on Reality Labs. We think these strategic initiatives are important, but we do want to be cognizant. And by the way, we will seek to have a lower headcount in 12 months from now than we are today. Just say that and the market would have rewarded you. See, I'm not sure if it's a BS rally. GME has a weird reason for being up. There was a glitch. Someone fat fingered on Ortex. We covered it earlier, actually. And so a lot of people are thinking like there's this new like short squeeze happening. I'm gonna stay the fuck away from it, but D-Gib, are Qualcomm weeklies banned next week because of FOMC? Absolutely not. They have earnings next week, though. Make sure you know that. How do I expect Qualcomm and AMD to do well next week? AMD is weird. They're going to be reporting. They've already pre-reported. I anticipate their guide will be pretty good. There's a separate thing, I think, with AMD, though. Hold on. Do they have an announcement? Okay, never mind. It's the following week. The following week, AMD is having a the reveal for the Epic, the data center GPU or CPU. Has AMD been running into earnings? Usually AMD is traditionally ran into earnings, then falls. Not really. I know AMD's up 5.6%. I may just buy a bunch of shares. I don't know. The question is, do we see Monday being an up or down day? This stock is so cheap. Going to be an up day. Maybe I'll just buy some leaps on AMD. I kind of feel AMD is going to do well. And again, I kind of feel like the stock's been utterly fucking obliterated for no good reason. Look at this. They are trading at, Jesus. Essentially, they're pretty close to pre-COVID. Keep in mind, this company pre-COVID was about half the size in terms of revenues. And it's not like AMD is one of those companies that doesn't make money. No. They make a lot of money. The SPY put spread collar expires Monday. Go on, M. Hanzik. What does that mean? Reddit swap. Eric Jones. Here's another person you guys should follow. I find him incredibly smart. Let me show you his profile. He has a post on this. Shinjenko, but PC sales are down. I know. Hey, it was down for Intel. They're fucking mooning. You talk about. He made the comment that if you start seeing post earnings software names rolling up, he's felt. Yeah, here we go. Here's the tweet. So as a rule, it's paid off since July to fade gains in popular SaaS stocks, software as a service, that get chased higher post earnings. So example, Snowflake, Net, Team, Zscaler. We're seeing such chasing again now with ServiceNow and Shopify. So it's a good point. Time for the questions. But you have on semi calls for November. Would I hold for AMD? CDA, the better question is, would you hold for OWN's earnings? On semi reports Monday morning. They're very unusual in that regard. They report Monday mornings. So don't worry about AMD. If you're holding on to them, you're playing them for their own earnings. And I'm currently thinking I'm holding them. I'm tempted to actually roll out, give myself even more time. On semi may not get a lot of respect. SPY can't breach 389. Devil Horse, be careful. Next week's FOMC, and we've had a lot of. The thing is, like all these semiconductor names, like look at ON. All right, does this scare anyone? Look where we are. Do we break through? What? Sinjenko, would it not make sense to wait until after earnings to open a leaps position? Well, theoretically, if you're opening a leaps, you're getting the IV should not be the concern. But someone correct me if I'm wrong. By the way, I will be right back. Let me grab a beer. Okay, we're back. So here's a question, guys. Should we be getting, like, what's the IV concern here? So in relative terms, the IV percentile for AMD is lower. Let's be strategic about this. You guys teach me. Because next week, there are a few companies I kind of want some level of earnings exposure. Keep in mind, last time I bought on semi before their earnings, they had excellent earnings. They dumped. However, I did not lose money because I still had a few weeks on them. And then for the next like 2 weeks, on semi went up. I'm probably going to roll out my on semi. I don't have like any exposure. You know what? I'll buy fucking shares. That's what I'll do. I'm boomer. Shut up. You're not wrong. And yet, I will do boomer things. Okay, I just bought a bunch of shares of on semi. So I'm going to close out my previous options position. At least I'll put in a close order. See if it fills. And the idea behind it is I'll play them on a run up even after earnings. My only concern is they may dump after earnings because people will see, like, oh my God, free cash flow down, gross margin down, and that shouldn't matter. It's their strategy. Yeah, if onsemi dumps after good earnings, I will switch my shares to calls. I will then absolutely jump in on that, because that's what happened last time, and I bet you it happens again. Does anyone think Verizon's a good play? No. My understanding, I didn't read too deeply into it. I thought Verizon got their asses kicked by both AT&T and T-Mobile. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the reason they're down. Now, I don't know if they bounce back from it. I don't know the sector. But that'd be the concern that I have. Well, we're above 389. Let's see if we hold it. Connor Duffy, what do we have earnings on Monday? The only one I really care about is onsemi. onsemi is Monday morning. TNA is interesting. I think I will in the future. Remind me next week. Your smallish healthcare corp is looking at moving from Visa, or from Verizon, sorry. Two parts SQQQ, one part Tina. Interesting. Is Air fucking? Do we short DoorDash? I'm not shorting shit. I don't know what happens. No. As much as I respect the fact so many people are just dying to short shit, I think they're causing the market to go up at this point, right? Like, it's not working for them. It's not working very well. Bull trap? Is it? Could be. Everybody at some point's getting trapped. We know that much. Right there. My own semi-sold. Anyone think we get 75 and see 6.5 October core? I have no clue on the CPI prints. At this point, I think we're pretty comfortable getting 75. Is CPI next week? When is next CPI? Market on close and balance. Just 790 million to the buy side. You're hoping we close at 388? Let's see how our friends at Wall Street Bets are doing. Are they doing well? Uh-oh. Someone just said, on semi calls are free money. Anyone else got to worry about that one? This is Wall Street Bets. Hood is early November earnings. Interesting. Yep. I sold out of my calls already. I have shares. I now have shares of onsemi. And seeing that, yeah. Yeah, is there any DD? Because I mean, I got more comfortable with playing Apple when I saw a DD playing against it. My Apple is up 5% today. Suck on that, bitches. Warren Buffett. This didn't work out well for them. Hey, CSAE. How you doing, my friend? Yeah, D-Gib. We did talk about it. Hey, Bastille. Hope you're feeling better. My Apple call was brilliant. Don't listen. A lot of people had that call. But yeah, we did see that segment. In fact, Sagana made the most hilarious comment. Actually, no, he made the comment about the previous night's Mad Money, because we watched it together. And basically, like, Kramer was going off, and he said, old bald man yells at cloud. Dreaded Dog, I'm still negative. I haven't calculated it, so that's why I don't know. I'm still down. My God. So much green. Amazon's making up a lot of effort. Andy posted a McRib. It was terrible. I'm sure it is. Look at this. Does Chipotle make this up? I didn't think their earnings were that bad. No problem, Metro Bob. No. There's a lot to not like about it. It was not 20% down bad. No. It was not that bad. It really was not. Big, their earnings were terrible. Their earnings were terrible. $0 in operating income in the data center. Their data center sales were down like 24%. Fucking terrible. AMD slaughtering them in the data center. The fact that they're up shows you they've probably bottomed. Tommy, you're scared when Air announces another customer? Why? Did you sell covered calls? Is that why you're worried? Is that why you're scared? No, that you don't have enough shares. No, I understand. Intel's divvy cut will be to Jay what the Chinese export tax was to DeVito. To be fair, I don't think they'll cut their dividend. They reiterated that last night. They have enough cash. I think they're irresponsible. I think they're very irresponsible to not cut their dividend, but they don't need to. MB Tosca, you don't think we're going to see 12 to 15 again? Actually, neither do I. But, who knows? It's small cap. See IWM. God damn, look at this fucker. I've played IWM twice this week. Actually, 3 times. And 2 of the 3 times it was very successful. One of the times it was stupidly successful. I called it out that morning. Yeah, this is a sign, by the way, because this is a small caps. If small caps are moving, you're not... Notice something. The SPY, let me show you this. This is cool. All right. This week, we started here at 375. We basically grabbed 15 points. 4 out of the 5 mega caps have been shit on. So for anybody saying, oh my God, you know, the mega caps are just carrying this market. Nope. 4 out of the 5 got shit on. Even if we had stayed flat today, by the way, we would have been up this week. And if you had told me we would have been up with 4 of the 5 mega caps. The problem, I think, particularly for like Wall Street bets and like VTards, don't fall into such a crystal clear narrative too quickly. Earnings as a whole have been what I'm going to call differentiated. All right, fair enough. Meta's not a mega cap anymore. That's a true point. All right. You had McDonald's do excellent this week. This market was going to die if Apple missed. Yeah, I think probably. By the same token, I don't think Meta should have been down 20+%. I don't think Microsoft should have been down 8%. I don't think Google should have been down 8%. And I don't think Amazon should have been down 20%. I think the market overly punished them. Usually it's 1 trillion. How's Apple doing now? They'll probably break it next week since I sold. And look at this. Apple didn't do shit, sitting at 150, and it got punished before it ever reported. And they outright beat. Mega cap to meme, yep. Mega cap to meme stock. Yeah, Tinchenko, I think that's really correct. Tommy, I know that feeling. My parents do the same thing. And it's like, wait for it. I'm more comfortable losing my money than someone else's. So my viewpoint is wait until the Fed officially starts talking about the word like pause. Sky Millionaire, don't beat yourself up. How many trillion-dollar companies are there in the world? I think you have Saudi Aramco. I assume that's a trillion-dollar company. You have Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft. So 5. I'm assuming Saudi Aramco. What is Saudi Aramco's market cap? All right, what's it in real dollars? $2 trillion. That's 7 trillion. I think that's Saudi. That's Saudi money. Aramco, though, is government sponsored. Yes. Still, it's an interesting. It went private, or it went public. Like you can buy shares of it. I'll say that much. Tesla is future Aramco and Apple combined. Guys, any interesting options activity we've been seeing in the last 15 minutes or so? Shout it out. Any big boys playing? Yes, I'm still in Applied Materials monthlies. Who do I think will be the next trillion-dollar company? Assuming Meta doesn't take it back. Assuming Tesla doesn't take it back. So basically, who will become a trillion-dollar company for the first time? It's going to be either NVIDIA or TSMC. Yep, Red Swap's correct. If yields in Dixie go up again, which is true, if it happens, Air as a small cap will be among the first. Yep. Whoa, Backdoor Bob, thank you for the $15. Thank you very much. Best week in a while. Well, we've been happy to have you here. What if the $1 trillion company isn't tech? Go on. Who would it be then? I think the most likely answer would be either Johnson & Johnson, but they're breaking themselves up, so it's not them. United Healthcare. GME, fuck off. Asshole. God. Berkshire, okay. All right, good point. Yeah. I have to count them, don't I? Yeah, Berkshire is a bit of a cheat, rather. It's gonna be a buzzer beater like last night. Or like yesterday, rather. Oh, we're at 389. At least I see it here. What's with Geico? I don't know. You were thinking J&J? I think United Healthcare would top J&J. Yeah, United Healthcare. United Healthcare is stupidly big. I don't think people appreciate that. They're very large. They're large and in charge. Whoa, Sida dude, thank you for the gift subs. Greatly appreciated. Came for the tacos as a name. That's awesome. Yep. Hopefully you guys had fun this week. Hopefully people made money this week. This week was net positive for me. And more importantly, can we just take a moment and appreciate? We don't have to worry about Twitter anymore. Oh, that was much more stressful than it should have been. You love UNH, FinDivvy, you and I both. The more I learn about UNH, don't get me wrong, I think healthcare is grotesquely bloated, but I like it. Like, I like UNH. And by the way, open enrollment starting up. So I'm going to be looking at United Healthcare as a consumer. Excited about that. My God, SPY is now fucking squeezing. It's at 389. Never mind. Hey, Callie Otter, thank you for the gift sub. Holy shit. Someone's name in here is Pony Stark. Pony Stark, show yourself. That is a great name. That is a fucking great name. Pony Stark. Yep, chicka bow wow. Bow wow wow. Largest, yep, so Apple, Saudi Aramco, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, United Health, ExxonMobil. I almost promise you will never see a commodity company in particular go to number one. Or rather, go to $1 trillion. Not unless it's like government controlled. J&J, Visa, Walmart, JP Morgan, Chevron, Nvidia. Yep, Nvidia I see rising up. TSMC I see rising up. I think a lot of these other companies. Honestly, it's probably hard to become $1 trillion company without a software angle. All right? Yeah, Amazon's been really strong today. Whole lot of USA. Moobly hasn't moved much such IPO. I tell you right now, if that stock had fucking puts, I wouldn't do them yet. I would wait, but at some point, Moobly is going to be facing off with Nvidia and Qualcomm in automotive. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. Zirconium is correct. You can sell software faster than you can sell barrels of oil. It's also the economic principle known as marginal cost. If I create software, it might cost me $100 million to create that software. But then to sell it to one person, there's X cost. To sell it to the next person, it's basically free. Whoa, Shugo, thank you very much for the gift subs. Thank you for the 5 gift subs. Shugo, hopefully you're playing with us tonight. Amazon's up a steady $50 billion since opening because they shouldn't have lost over $100 billion yesterday. God damn it, Ghost. Stop encouraging that. If Ghost, if we hit 389.99, I'm be so tempted to ban your ass for calling it. You usually start around 9 o'clock. Usually around 9 o'clock. Fig, market cap is a made-up number. EST, yes. Eastern. Interesting how the high-yield bonds has massively outperformed IG bonds and treasuries. Right? Was it you pointing out, though, previously that a lot of these bonds, like, they're basically pricing in a lot of these companies like they're going to die? Whoa, Tinjenko, thank you for the 10 gift subs. Greatly appreciated, my friend. You reckon we see Tesla at $1 trillion before Apple hits 3? Wow. I'm not going to bet against that. I think that could happen. Apple needs a new product to hit $3 trillion. That or India needs to go very well. For those of you who don't know, Apple's making a big push into India. Tinjenko, fuck all you. By the way, someone asked if they're allowed to play Goose Goose Duck with us. Absolutely. We always put out the code inside the gaming channel inside Discord. Love to take for this person on Elon's purchase. The value of Twitter is the people, the politicians, the reporters, the sycophants who can't stop tweeting. You, Elon, you just spent $44 billion for you. Who do we think brings antitrust to Apple? Everybody, but I think the U.S. is the one to be most concerned about. God damn, go Rebs. Who knew all it took to turn on easy mode in the market was to hit Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer? Tinjenko asks, Goose Goose Duck is a Windows-only game? Nope. You can play it on mobile. And it's free. You just need a microphone. That's important. You need a microphone. You can play it on iOS. You can play it on Android. You can play it on PC. Salt Rock Smelt, 200 bits. Thank you very much, my friend. Can you see Tesla? Sure thing. Not dying. My God. Tinjenko, it's got crossplay. So we have people who play on mobile at the same time as people who play on PC. Funny story is one of the people who we played with was in the same room. They didn't have headphones on. They just had a speaker. And apparently their daughter was in the room watching TV, and they pissed off Winky. And she goes, Alexa, TV off. And it turned off the TV while his daughter was watching. His daughter was pissed. Spies volume's going wild. We are 8 cents away. Which, oh, ding, 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 ding. Someone call it. Someone call it. I've got us under. You feel like SpaceX? What? Yeah, SpaceX should take longer, I assume. Then again, Elon gets a premium. HR question, can you negotiate a severance package? Yes. Everything in life is negotiable. Noxter, you got us at 389.02. Give me liquidity. Be careful. The one thing I will caution you about in regards to that, I've got 388.92. But keep in mind, give me liquidity. They can say fuck you, when companies offer up severance packages, they're doing it so you sign away your right to sue them. Yeah, I've got 388.92, guys. I think the Bears won this one. You can even negotiate for a horse. The one cautionary note, if they're doing mass like layoffs, for example, severance packages usually become a little bit less negotiable. Meaning the company is not going to want to. Sorry, guys. I think the Bears win. The Bears win. TV has 389.05. Well, hold on. Yep, Yahoo Finance has. We're getting different numbers, guys. Yeah, Bears most certainly did. We need it. Yeah, we do need an official record. Hold on for a second. Yeah, Thinkorswim. I've used TD Ameritrade. Yep. Well, I'm asking people, and okay, yeah, Yahoo says 388.92. I think the Bears won, guys. I'm going to give this one to the Bears. Let's be honest. I think the Bears got pretty punished today anyway. But again, we've had such a close. This is the second day in a row where it's insanely close. And yeah, TD Ameritrade, by the way, is saying it at 382. Yep. So, by the way, I'm sorry if I'm screwing people over twice now in a row. Give it to the Bears, though. They deserve it. They got rinsed today. 3 a.m. ballot dump. Donald, you know what's up. Anyway, folks. Good to see what our good friend Jay Jared's up to. See what the homie Jay Jared, because I want to be cognizant that my stream has been glitching out, so. Hedgies, yeah. Usually when I check multiple streams, by the way, or sources, usually they tend to be pretty close. This was different. Some burst the pipe in my home and brought in the extra votes. Anyway, folks, thank you for sticking around, and I will see you guys Monday morning. Let's see how On Semi does. I think they do well. I don't know what the reaction's going to be. I'm in shares. Peace, guys.